Welcome back to Basin Motorsports for another day here in the garage. So there's no doubt in the last week you've probably seen or heard something about a car called the Hoonifox. So the Hoonifox is a render at this point, but is a wide body Ford Mustang Foxbody that Ken Block, Hoonigan, and a designer called Ash Thorpe have come up with for probably the next Gymkhana videos coming out. So really when the Hoonifox was announced in that, I didn't pay that much attention. I just thought, ooh, cool, another Foxbody. Yay, Ken Block is building a wide body and it's going to be all-wheel drive and some kind of big massive motor, and he's going to drift it for a couple of videos. It seems like everybody else has been very excited for it. And on the other camp, there's been a lot of people that said it's going to ruin the Foxbody. Now, I wasn't exactly shocked that people were going to be excited about it. The thing that really caught my attention is those that thought this car is going to ruin the Foxbody. And I thought, wow, that is a major statement to say that building one car is going to absolutely ruin the chassis at all. So the question for this video that I'm going to try to answer is, do I agree that the Hoonifox is going to ruin the Foxbody? Now, I think before you can answer that, what you have to really do is study the car. Now, there is a video out there already with about 1 million views of Brian Scotto of Hoonigan, Ken Block, and Ash Thorpe kind of talking through the Hoonifox and how it came about, some of the design aspects of it, and what they plan to do with it in the future. Now, for those that don't know, Ash Thorpe was the concept designer for the new Batman vehicle, which is, I think, about a 71 Barracuda, but it's pretty heavily modified, so you may not even recognize it that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through kind of the finer details of what I saw in the video, compare them to my wide body sitting in the background here, and then we're going to get to that question of if it's going to ruin the Foxbody or not. So throughout the video that they talk about the car, they show different liveries of it. There's a black one, which is kind of like the sponsored one. They call one the Miami Vice one, which is white. They show one that has sublimated graphics within carbon fiber, then the gloss clear coat, and they have one that's basically the raw car with nothing on it. So let's take a look at that one because it shows a lot more detail, I think, than taking all the graphics and putting everything on there. It kind of blends out a lot of things. So the first thing you notice on this is that it is going to be an 87 and 93 front end, at least by the headlights. Obviously right here, the widefox that I have, is my wide body is an 80, so it fits between the 79 and 86. These are called the 4-eyes, those are called the aero cars, the 87 to 93. Now looking at it, they plan to probably keep the 3-piece headlights. It doesn't look like it's a one-piece naturally, but you couldn't really make out a lot of detail there. The cool thing about it is, of this picture, you look around the headlight, it's got little screws around the edge. Now this is reminiscent back to the early IMSA 4-eyes that you can find online. Here's a picture of one so you can kind of see what I'm talking about around the headlight. So now when you look at the Hoonifox, you can clearly see that there are screws around the lights themselves. Now obviously, based on the hood scoop and what they talk about, this is not going to be a turbo car, at least in the beginning, because they talk about doing the V8 where Ken likes the V8 for it. And if you look down in the hood scoop sticking out of the hood, you can see the 8 individual throttle bodies in the design. So initially I think they're going to do the V8 based on this render. Now I saw an article from Hot Rod that mentioned the Mach-E drivetrain, so they might go electric. They may do a twin turbo V6, which would be a little bit like the Hoona truck, the 1977 F-150 that they did, all-wheel drive with that. Or it could go the V8, which is what the Hoonicorn, his 65 coupe all-wheel drive car, initially started. That was version 1 with the V8 and all-wheel drive drivetrain. Now if we jump into the black carbon livery, the things, you kind of miss some of the details of it, but you can clearly see that there are some big wide fenders, kind of like these ones here. And they mentioned carbon fiber body and that into it. So those I think are going to be a composite. I don't know if they will stay with true carbon fiber, go Kevlar. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that, but clearly you can see the big vents coming out of the tire well there, kind of getting probably a lot of that tire smoke and debris up and out of there, releasing the air that gets built up at speed in there to help kind of turns and some other stuff. Now the thing that you notice, yes, there are big fender flares. There are new front fascia, which looks like a big one piece, and based on the pictures in that, what I think they're going to have to do is build one big massive one that kind of goes in with the flares themselves. Now, if you look at the grill in this thing, it's kind of cool because they're missing all the wiper pieces. Now you notice on this render itself, you look down on the car, you can clearly see that there are no wiper holes and no wipers on there. Now this makes sense because this is a purpose-built kind of a race car theme, so it probably doesn't need wipers. So in order to do this, if they started with a scratch, a normal body, you would have to weld up basically or eliminate it out of the cowl metal, and then the grill itself is going to have to be probably 3D printed or something else, because they come standard with a wiper hole for a wiper arm that come out through there. So that may be 3D printed or something else, or you know, who knows what they will come up with, but that's clearly going to be eliminated, at least based on this render. Now the other thing you can clearly see in this is that it's going to have a hood scoop on the roof, basically an air inlet, because, well, the car is probably going to get hot. It's going to be smoky because he's going to be completely shredding some tires. So they'll probably just have a roof scoop in there to get some fresh air in, kind of pressurize the cabin a little bit and keep smoke out. Now if you jump to the rear of the Hoonifox, the things you start to see is obviously it's got some big massive tires, which you would expect. It's got some big fenders in there, and well, it's running the cheese graters. Who would have thought Ken Block would leave the cheese graters that are either a love-hate relationship in the Foxbody community? I think it's cool that he's got them on there. Now again, they have a big diffuser on it, which is going to be something custom. They're going to have some unique fenders out of there, because if you look at the kind of the side profile and everything else, they actually start in the door themselves. So the doors on them are going to have to be unique, because one, they have the exhaust down blocking the door, kind of like the old IMSA racers. Again, here's that same picture, but look where the exhaust coming out is on the car. And then you look at the Hoonifox, and notice that exhaust comes out along the side, but it's actually a little bit higher, so it looks like right around the body molding, they're going to have to split that door where the bottom half cannot open because the exhaust is in the way. The top half can open. So they'll have a cage in there, obviously, and then they're going to have kind of like a split door that opens up that way. So there again, you look at the side profile. Now this is again going to be the driver's side, obviously, or I should say the left side of the car, because who knows, he may make it right-hand drive. It's Ken Block, you don't know. But looking at this, you can clearly see where the exhaust is. You can see that he's got louvers on the back. It's got a tail on it that is kind of reminiscent of the DTM Mustangs that were raced in Europe along the way, but they also have an extension on that made out of plexiglass. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see. Obviously, this is not going to be legal for any kind of racing series, and it never is, but there again, this is going to be a wing that is so big and massive to keep that downforce going at all angles. Now throughout the videos, they show some different liveries that it's in. Obviously, they have the black one, which is kind of the standard for the sponsors. They have Ken's favorite, which he calls the Miami Vice, which is all white. They show the car basically stripped of every graphic on there, and it's just called basically the blank canvas. They have one they call in the Tony the Tiger, which is kind of like tigerish graphics, but they're subtle. They're like a matte series on it. And the one they kind of showed at the end is where Ash kind of goes crazy on the design and throws in this neon, I don't even know what you call it, schizophrenia, but I think it's pretty cool the way Ash came up with it, and it's just kind of wild and crazy. So now that you've seen some of the minor details of this, the question then becomes, will this ruin the Foxbody? In my opinion, personally, nah, this is not going to ruin the Foxbody. There are those that have said that the reason they think it's going to ruin it is, one, it's going to drive up prices. which, you know, it could be. Barrett-Jackson's already done a good job of doing that on the very low mileage, unique cars. Yes, they have driven up the prices a little bit. Some of the detractors also have said that they fear that with Ken Block doing a Foxbody, that one, it's going to make everybody want to go out and get wide bodies. Well, that's already occurring. The wide body thing is almost too common now. So doing a different version that's a little crazier, I don't think that's going to be enough to make everybody want to go do one. Will it bring in a lot of new people into the Foxbody chassis? Probably. But if they're already priced decently enough or high enough, they're not going to buy those chassis. They're not looking to spend a lot of money on a car they're going to go build to drift. That's just how it is. They're going to take those rusty chassis, cut them up a bunch, and go do it. So will it ruin it? Nah, we're not going to ruin it. We're going to lose some cars to people getting into them, cars getting beat up, drifting on them. But I think that's kind of clean out the what I would call the scrappers, the very bottom end of the chassis that are probably getting wasted away in a field somewhere. So don't worry about it. The thing I think will happen is, yes, they will build this car. I don't know that it's going to come out exactly like this, because this is a lot of work to put together for a unique car. But Ken Block has the resources with Hoonigan to really build this car as it sits. So we may get some cool parts like a cowl grill without wiper in plastic. That would be pretty cool, because I don't think there's one out there now that I can find. We may get a whole new body kit out available that somebody may replicate once Ken Block has done it. Now, if they do these in carbon fiber, they have to have the molds. I doubt they want to produce copies, but somebody may take it upon themselves. I'm not saying me, but somebody may take it upon themselves to build a unique concept like this. They may have this trademark, so you might not be able to duplicate it exactly, but who knows. And there might be a crazy kit come out that does an all-wheel drive chassis in a Foxbody. Once they know that it can be done, who knows? All those parts may become available through somebody. So that's it, guys. That's my opinion. Will it ruin the Foxbody? No. Will we bring in some new people, at least interested in the Foxbodies or buying some and getting into it? Yes. And I'm happy for that. I think it's a fantastic car. There's still a lot of them out there just sitting around rusting, so why not get some in the hands of people that will get out and enjoy them? I don't think they're going to become a higher theft target. I don't think they're going to become a target of police harassment. Those are two other things people worried about. I think if you look at the 240SX or the Honda Civic or any of these other ones that are very popular, they're not necessarily any more targets than they would be without the popularity. So what do you think? Am I full of it? Or do you agree with me on some of these points? I'd like to know. Drop a comment down below, like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel or you're new here, and if you're new, check it out. I've got 120 videos on building my own wide body called the Widefox. And that's it for today from Basin Motorsports. We'll see you next time.